builder I've ever met when it comes to this type of stuff, besides myself, but I've never built anything, so that makes you me. So, you know, he does great stuff, got great supplies. Guy, I mean, he's the trifecta. He's clean stuff, he builds stuff, and he's the guy to buy all your stuff from. So he understands, when you call him, he understands how to clean stuff, how to do things. I'm not saying anybody else in our industry doesn't, but I would consider him a trifecta when it comes to that. So anyway, I'm Andrew Snyder with Agentclean and Agentclean University. We're going to go over today success and profit through bidding and management. How many people here are like a year or less in business? Raise your hands. Okay. This will kind of go more up your guys' alley than anything. The thing that I kind of look at all the time is, you know, what is needed in this industry. And it seems like a lot of people, and this strategy has worked for me. It might not work for everybody, but it has worked for me. And I have 12 full-time employees all year round. So, and a lot of overhead because you have 12 employees. You got 7, 8 trucks, 3, 4 trailers, things like that we run. We also do window cleaning and pressure washing and a lot of other things also. But we don't do too much besides outside our realm. How many people less than 3 years with no employees?
Less than 3 years with no employees?
Yeah, just over 3 years with no employees.
Over.
Yeah, okay. How many people have like 1 or 2 employees? Okay, 3, 4 employees? Okay, perfect. Okay, so what we're going to cover today is we're just going to cover just how to be successful bidding through. So when you're bidding, you know, a lot of people are always like, you know, we have a guy who's common scenario. We have a common scenario we put up. Our numbers are pretty fair. I'm not going to say everybody sit down and figure them because we just threw this together to make a point. It doesn't really matter on how we present it, just so it's easy and understandable. Analyze expenditures. A lot of people don't understand expenses and how to be successful in a business with expenses. So if you're in a business and you're always saying, man, why am I not making money? Why am I not doing this? Maybe you've outdone what you're really capable of doing at this time, or 99% of the time it's you're not charging enough. You know, everybody complains about the $99 house wash guys. You know, to me, it doesn't matter. Anybody can come in. Most people come into my territory and they're like, hey, I'll charge half of what he charges. I know they're going to be in business for maybe a year, they're going to suffer through it, and they're going to fail because they can't make expense. If I'm not profiting off how I do it and they're cutting me in half, there's no way they're ever going to profit anything without employees, because the minute they try to hire employees, they can't do it. Understanding, this is my terminology of understanding a 33, 33, 33 in business. 33% is expenditures, 33% is employees. A lot of people get online, hey, I'm going to pay my guy per job. How much should I pay him? You know, 30%, 40%. Once you start getting over that figure, you start losing money. 33% is what I love to make in profit. So here's a common scenario. This is Joe Schmo, one of my favorite characters. I wish I could have used this picture, but that isn't that game show they had. He works at Walmart. We had to pick Walmart because they seem like they're failing right now. $12 an hour is what he makes. He's got a 25-year gross income. He's tired of low income. He's tired of being the low class, barely making it paycheck to paycheck. I don't even know how people do it in this day and age, making minimum wage or less, or, you know, making $10 an hour. It's just impossible. He wants more out of life. He wants the things that everybody else seems to have that he can't get. So we have a growth chart. Growth chart, kind of, anybody watch John's scenario? You grow, you keep growing, you have employees, and everything just keeps growing and growing and growing until you're at the top of your growth chart. It takes a long time to get to that growth chart, via employees, via expenses, via everything else you have to put into your business. It's a lot of work, a lot of effort. So our common scenario is he works at Walmart, $12 an hour. He ends up power washing for a year by himself on the weekends. Let me catch up on my notes here. Don't get ahead of myself. So he decides to get, Joe Schmo decides to get into pressure washing, and after he's working at Walmart, he decides to get into pressure washing. He does a couple houses every single weekend, $100 a pop, okay? At the end of the year, 52 weeks later, he's made $20,800 in his first year power washing on the weekends. He's like, wow, you know, I'm making decent money. So by the time the Walmart employee makes 12 bucks an hour, $300, he buys a power washer from Lowe's for 300 bucks, starts washing houses on the weekend. We've all been there, including myself. I mean, my first pressure washer I think cost me like 112 bucks 24 years ago, you know? And then for some reason it didn't work in the spring, and I live in Iowa and I'm trying to figure out why. So then I had to go buy another $124 pressure washer to continue my business. My first job ever was a $3.50 window cleaning job. That was my first job ever. So we all start somewhere. We don't, you know, unless we have family or we have a great job and we're 40-some years old and we decide to get in this business and we buy the best of the best. Even the best of the best isn't the best of the best when it comes to when you start looking at how many crews you have and everything else. You might have money going into it, but if you're starting out small and you can't afford it, you're scrimping. He charges $100 a house and washes 2 houses per day, which makes $20,800. Now with Walmart pays, and with Walmart and his pressure washing, he's done about $45,760 gross income. Joe does this for another year. He's making that good of money. He ends up quitting his job at making $52,000 a year. Decides to quit Walmart and go full-time pressure washing. Finances a pressure washer and Paul at the Powerwashstore. Finances a truck. Switches to weekends to weekdays. Washes 2 houses per day at $100 a house because he doesn't know any better. He's just thinking, man, I'm making great money. I'm making more than $12 an hour, guys. I'm seriously making more than 12 bucks an hour. Why wouldn't it be smart for me to quit Walmart and go do this on my own? Now his net income's $32,000. Making less than what he expected. Some of us stay here the rest of our lives because we don't know how to get over that next hump. We don't know how to bid properly in order to get profitable. You know, and because you're saying, man, my competition's doing it for 100 bucks. There's no way I can charge 400. Well, guess what? In my opinion, in my experience, you can, because that guy can only handle so much work because he'll never afford an employee. A lot of guys say, well, I pay a guy $20, a buddy of mine 20 bucks an hour to help me. Well, by the time he's done, he's making less money per hour if you figure his expenses and everything else he has invested in it. He's making less money per hour than he was at Walmart. Doesn't make sense. So he decides that he needs more business because his business isn't growing and he didn't make as much money, so he feels he's going to go out there and just try to hump more business, get more business. So what he feels is he comes to a couple of these shows and people are like, oh, I got 10 employees. Oh, he's making great money because he got 10 employees. Maybe I need to hire more employees. So he starts hiring more employees. He ends up hiring a secretary because the phone starts to ring. $100 a house. They put out some advertisements. Keeps spending money. He buys a second truck now, so he's got 2 guys in the truck and himself. He's washing 4 houses a day now at $100 a house. Callbacks, miscommunications, low quality because they're always in a hurry to get to the next house Comes out with around $11,000 for himself at the end of the year because he made $104,000 times the 4 times the 2. His business, basically, he's running it for a year. Now he's in his second year, right? Like I said, how many guys are in their first year again? Okay? Can you make it your second year? You know, in your mind, can you make it your second year? Are you suffering right now? And that's where you come into these classes to learn more, to say, how can I become profitable now? How can I get through this next bump? Remember that stair step we have? That's the next bump. Every time we make that stair step, you got a bump. He goes bankrupt and he ends up going back to work at Walmart, making 12 bucks an hour, because he actually made more money at Walmart than he did running his own business. Understanding expenditures. Cost of vehicle insurance, cost of financing, pressure washers, vehicles, cost of vehicle maintenance, payrolls, tech, secretary, workman's comp. A lot of people say, I pay $20 an hour for my buddy to help me, or I pay $10 an hour for my buddy to help me. That guy falls off a roof. What happens? Your business, you're back at Walmart with a lawsuit taking half your check because you didn't cover somebody. Well, he's a cash employee. I don't have to do that. No, you're wrong. You should never hire a cash employee. Because it will cost you your business. It will cost you your home. It will cost you everything you've ever worked for in your entire life because of that. So you always have to make sure if you do, you know, if you're not hiring somebody, go through, even though you're your friend, go through a temp service. Protect yourself. You know, I'm guilty. I've done it. I did it for years thinking, hey, maybe I'll sneak a little by the workman's comp. I don't have to pay as much. You know, and then one day I ended up having an accident that probably cost my insurance company about $400,000. Guy fell off of a roof. off of a bank tower while we were cleaning windows. He was tied off before he came off the ladder. Guy came through, hit our swing stage, knocked our swing stage and a ladder, knocked my guy right off the roof. Busted up, ended up going into surgery, I think 12 or 13 different times. What if I paid him cash? He'd own everything I've ever dreamed of owning or ever worked for in my entire life. Those are all expenses we're not looking at. Web, SEO, chemicals, marketing. This is an expense. When you come to a show like this is a $1,000 expense for people to get here. This is a business expense. You can't say, well, I'm just going to take it out of my personal money, because that's not how it works. You're actually hurting. If you come to 5 shows a year and you're barely making it, stay home. Do some work. You know, don't show up to these shows. Watch it live, right, Leilani? Watch it live. You know, learn things. The other thing a lot of people get into is they're getting into, you know, our media, you know, for Facebook and everything, and they get on and they ask questions. And I feel like the worst thing that's going on right now in a lot of this stuff is people are asking questions and people are like almost belittling people in a way, and it kind of frustrates me to say, man, the guy just asked a question. You know, he's trying to learn because he's suffering. He's hurting. He can't make it because he's asking questions. Then he gets 20 people ripping on him, 10 people ripping on him, maybe 3 people telling him half the truth, another person telling another truth. You know, like I said yesterday, find a mentor in this business. See if he's willing to answer questions. See if he's willing to take a phone call. He's going to be the guy who does it. If you guys look at who's responding on all these different things, and I'm not saying it's the UAMCC post usually, it's the other places we're in. It's the other negativity that are trying to tear us down. I want everybody to succeed. You know, we offer classes, and our classes, depending on what you want, are $799. By the time we're done, we lose money. We're giving away chemical. We're giving away gift cards. I mean, it costs you barely nothing except your expense to get there, because I want people to know what they're doing when they go out in the field. That, I mean, I've talked to a lot of people. What's success? You know, anybody know the meaning of success?
I do.
What is it?
3 times a week.
There you go. Nice one, Colin. Can you tell me what 3 times a week is?
You got there.
That is success. I'll remember that. Because in my opinion, I haven't felt it yet. I don't know what success is. I love teaching people. I love putting people. There's a lot of people I've taught in the window cleaning industry that ended up selling their business for $500,000 10 years later. Does that make me feel successful? No, I want everybody to succeed. I'd rather pick a guy here and say, hey, I want to mentor you. Watch him grow and be successful. That's another reason we started Agentclean Franchising Company. Not to, you know, franchise, everybody has a negativity on that. It's not all negative. You know, you walk in, you're a brand new business, you spend a little bit of money, and you have a mentor who is your business partner, because he wants you to succeed. We want everybody that ever gets into our franchise to be the most successful person out there. Not just for our feelings, but for their own purpose. You know, if you're Joe Schmo, you want more out of life. Everybody does. I want more out of life right now, but when's enough enough, my wife always says. You know, when I'm out all the time doing shows or training people in the franchise business, when's enough enough? It's not about the money. It's about my feeling of success. You know, I said, hey, I want to be a millionaire by the time I hit 21. Well, it didn't happen. You know, I want to be a millionaire by the time I hit 30. Maybe it happened. I don't know. You know, but that was like 15-year-old attitude. That's not success to me. I'd rather be running a Fortune 500 company than, you know, and I don't think I feel successful then, because I'm not helping people. So we got to go back to our expenditures. $25,000 a year, $21,000 is $46,000, around 33 take home. Pressure washer $250 a month, truck $450 a month, gas $215. These are just figures, guys. Don't add them up. Whatever you can add them up, they work. But vehicle insurance $115. $3,270 a month for taxes. Take home $2,354 a month. $28,000 a year. Year before he made 35 take home, so he's actually lost money and worked twice as hard now, right? Now he has 2 techs working for him, $4,100 a month. Secretary $1,700. Power washers $500. Trucks $900. Insurance $250 a month. Gas $400. $8,600 a month in revenues. He's actually now taking home $723 after he hires all those people that think he's going to grow his business. Doesn't include web marketing, SEO, workman's comp, unemployment, business, profit, nothing like that. So now we're getting to how I run my business, and I didn't do this like my first time I got into business. Said, hey, I just made $3.50. I'm going to end up throwing $1.17 in my expenses, $1.17 in my profit, and I'm going in my overall profit, and then I'm going to spend $1.17 on a pot because I earned it. You know.
Real quick, sorry, you're going a little too fast with the slides. I'm enjoying it. It's a lot to take in.
All right.
So please,
we'll slow down for Colin.
Okay, thank you. There we go.
So, success.
There we go.
So on how I've always ran my business is I've done it through basically you have to look at your expenses first. You got to look at how much profit you want to make. I'm not saying I want to be greedy and make 40% profit. It's possible, but I try to go out and I try to understand how everything works on payroll. So when I go out to do all this, so basically you have all your expenses there a month. You have your 2 techs, $8,142, $8,112 in your expenses, $8,112 in your techs and your, because I add a secretary. She works whether or not it's raining, snowing, doesn't matter. She's always working. She's always there to answer the phone, whether we're working, no matter what. So that I always look at that the expense. You have a sheet in front of you. You guys can figure your own expenses at home. I'm just trying to give you an idea what to look at and what to look for. So I should be doing, that's a monthly expense, and if I want my profits to be about equal, I'm going to have $24,000 a month in business in order to pay them, pay my expenses, and pay myself. Because if we don't pay ourselves, what happens?
What's the point?
What's the point? We're not eating. We're not, paying our mortgages. We're not paying our rents. We're not making our car payments. That type of stuff, it happens. And we can end up losing everything and over a business. At Walmart, at least I was able to make my payments. I was able to feed my family. I was able to do all the things that we did before, but now I have to do that every single month, 12 months out of the year. So again, we're back in the ladder here. First time right here, I'm by myself. I get to here, this is my sweet spot. My greens are always my sweet spot, where I'm comfortable. I'm like, hey, I need to grow. Can I grow now? Can I grow? If I'm not back into this type of product where I know, like say if you're an individual here, you should be doing about 66% profit as an individual doing it yourself. 33%, everybody's like, where's that 1%? It's in the sky, it's in the cloud. We don't know where it's at. I've never really cared about it. You could go 33.33, but there's no sense of that. There's always a little bit here and there on each direction we go. So on your sweet spot, you're always thinking, should I make the next jump? I might not have the business to make it, so I'm going to make that next jump, right? I'm going to hire a tech. So right here, I'll hire a tech. Now, I'm still paying that 33% to my tech. My expenses are probably more now, so I'm only actually probably profiting 17%. And that's okay during growth, because you're expected, because you're still working every day, you're still taking your percentage and making that percentage, that 33, 33, 33, or 66%, so you're not really losing a lot of income. We get to a point here where we're kind of running a little bit leaner and meaner, because now we're starting to get the business to keep those guys busy. We're having them full time. Then we get back to our sweet spot, and that just keeps happening every time you hire an employee, every time you go out and you buy a truck, every time you buy a trailer. That sweet spot keeps happening, and you're like, oh, man, I'm comfortable. I'm making great money. I got 4 more jobs. Is it worth me going and working every day of the week, or is it worth me going out and trying to find, another helper? That's the choice we make. A lot of us here, from what I know of you guys, work the weekends. We try not to make the next step until we know it's perfect, until we know we can do it. And that's how you run a successful business. If you want to be successful, right, Colin?
3 times a week.
3 times a week. You don't worry about what time you get out of bed.
Or into it.
So our expenses are all according to whatever you have here. And I might have missed one, but there's a lot of expenses you don't look at. How many times when we're out on a job site, something breaks and we have to run to the hardware store and buy something? That's an expense. Where does that come out of? It comes out of an expense. So I always try to cushion everything, at the end of my expenses in order to, so so what we're trying to set up is how to properly bid everything by the time we get done with this, just so people are lost. I don't want to throw too many numbers out because numbers confuse people, because they're not my numbers, they're just fragmented numbers. They might be your numbers, we might be close, I don't know. So you got fuel, chemicals, water, electricity, uniforms, come into shows, like I said, organizations, whether you're the Better Business Bureau, whether you're in B&I, there's expenses behind all that. Are they great expenses to spend money to grow and meet new people? I'm sure they are. So here's how I divide this so everybody understands. I take my $8,100 in expenses every month for my rent and everything else. I divide by 40 hours a week, which basically makes it $202 per week or per hour, and then I divide it by $205 divided by 4.33. Does anybody know what 4.33 is? Weeks in a month. There's anytime you divide up how your expenditures are on a budget, it's 4.33 weeks in a month, which brings me up to $46 an hour that my company has to run in order to run into expenses. So every hour on the hour, I have to be running $46 just to cover my expenses, right? Same process here. I'm looking at how much do I have for my crews. I know I got one guy who makes $14 an hour. I always add 30% on top of that for his taxes, always. Because I have workman's comp, I have unemployment, and I have his federal taxes and all that other junk. So I always add 30% on top of it. So if I have a $10 employee for simple math, I charge $13 for that employee. That's his expenses. So I know I can take 13 times 8, that's what that guy costs me every single day. So again, I do it the same way. Take the money that I pay them, divide it by 40 hours a week, divide it by 4.33, which gives me $44.20 an hour. So now my expenses combined is $47.06, $44.20, and my profit is what yet? So let's go back to the guy who's doing $100 a house. It's taking him 2-3 hours by himself or with an employee. Is he profiting any money? Okay, that guy doing the $100 houses, don't worry about him. He can only do 40 or 50 at a time. He can't do any more than that. He'll never be able to afford an employee. It's impossible. Even if he runs it, he still has expenses, whether he owns that truck or not. I always say if you own a truck, great, you're ahead. But guess what? When that truck breaks down and you have to go buy a new one, do you have the money or the facilities to pay for that new truck? So even if you're not making payments, put the payments in the bank, because it is an expense still, guys. It's still an expense across the board. That's what you're chasing. You're always trying to make sure you're a step ahead, because how many times does the truck break down on everybody and you're like, how am I going to pay for this? If you own your truck, put your truck as an expense every month. Figure out what it might cost to replace that truck every month. Put that. I don't ever keep my money separate, but it just stays there because I know I can't really take it out at that point. So I want my profits to be a third, right? So a third of everything I do. So I know I have 2 guys going out and they're doing work. It takes 2 hours to do a $100 house, let's say. I need to be charging. This is how I figure how I need to charge. Everybody else has to figure out how they need to charge. I need to charge for 2 employees $138.26 an hour. So if I walk up to a job site and I say, okay, it's 2,500 square feet, I charge 10 cents a square foot, it's a $250 house. Most of the time, my guys, I have, let's say, 20 crews. I don't go for my top guy who makes $28 an hour. I don't go to my lowest guy who makes $10 an hour. I try to say, what's my middle size, the new guy's $10, but he's never run a crew. My average crew, what do they run? Are they running, can they do that house in 2 hours, or is it going to take them 3? Then I'm going to bid according to that. So on my other guy, because if you look at your pay scale on up, your pay scale for your top guys costs a lot more money per hour. So they have to get done quicker than the guys who aren't getting as much money per hour. We all have those guys that, our go-to guys in the business that we can say, hey, I need this done, can you do it? They go do it, and you win it.
Now, is that per rig?
That's per rig.
Per rig. That's not the whole business. That's per rig. So if you've got 3 trucks,
we're doing off just 1 rig right now.
Right.
Because everybody has difference. I mean, I have a different price for window cleaning per hour than I do on pressure washing per hour because I have more expenses involved in that. it's a pickup truck and a bucket, or it's a $25,000 trailer and a truck that has to pull it. And I always pay my pressure washers more than I pay my window cleaners unless they're hanging off a building. So on every time my guys go out and I look at a job, I have to charge $138 an hour in order to be profitable at what I feel profit is for me, 33%. Now, do I get to take that 33% home and spend it and do whatever I want with it? I could, but I'm never going to grow my business. My business is never going to grow because 33% I guarantee is going out the door for my payroll. And the other 33% I guarantee is going out somewhere for my trucks. I lease all my trucks, to let everybody know. I don't buy them, I lease them. I like new trucks every 4 years. And leasing, I get 100% tax deduction on it. It's the best thing I ever did. I started leasing trucks. Everybody's like, wow, he always has nice trucks, because I lease them. My personal vehicles, I do not lease, I own them, but I lease all my business trucks. Every 4 years, we trade them off, get new ones. I don't care what happened to them, whether the chlorine started eating the back end. I lease so many trucks, my guy doesn't care. He sends it to auction, he sells them. It's another option. Leasing is actually probably cheaper than buying it when you go to the bank and say, how much is this for this or how much is this for that? So it's a good idea people can look into is leasing. It's not a bad option. So for instance, if I have 2 guys that go out and clean windows, I break it down a little bit different, where I break it down into a different fee because they're not making as much money. So I know my window cleaners, but let's say now I go back in and we're doing these houses now that we're doing for 100 and we're bumping up to 200, and it takes 2 hours. Am I charging enough? No. My favorite motto is I've never lost $1 on a job I didn't do. Right? So what should I be charging a 2-hour house? 280.
280.
Yep, 280.
Do you put in for some travel time back and forth?
Well, I add all that anytime we bid. So
Right.
That's a great point, Colin. Every time I look at, if we can do 3 or 4 jobs a day, I'm looking at 8 hours. Now, some guys I can send my better crews out in 2,500 square feet and they wrap it up in an hour, they're off to the next one. By the end of the day, 2 o'clock, they're calling me for more work. So, anybody have any questions on what we kind of went over? It's kind of on, I tried to make it on a simple scale, but make sense of it.
You have two guys per truck?
Do I? Not necessarily. Depends. But common scenario would be 2 guys in a truck. Most of the time I like to send 2 guys. If you're climbing on a ladder, you're jumping up on a roof or something like that, I always like to have 2 guys, for safety. Anytime like we rappel over the top of the buildings, we like 2 guys for that also. So most of my crews are 2-man crews. Now my window cleaning crews aren't always 2-man crews. Houses are always 2-man crews. Residential or commercial is more of a 1-man crew, depending on the jobs that are due on the day. So if you're trying to figure out how much I should charge, I see that all the time. Somebody throws up a picture. How much should I charge? I can't answer those questions. Number one, because I don't know how much your expenses are. I don't know if you're doing it yourself, and I don't know where you live. I don't care about your competition, and neither should you. Your competition has nothing to do with what you charge. So when everybody goes out, Brass Duker, thank you. When everybody goes out and they're saying, hey, how much should I charge? How much should I charge? I'll never be the guy that says you should. I'll say you do it to make profit. That's what I write usually. I had one guy on another forum say, a buddy of mine in 2nd grade used to probably say stuff like that. I used to beat him up all the time. Well, I'm profitable and he's probably not,
You tell him, tell your mom I said hi.
I will. So, it all depends on how much profit you want. You want to work on a 20% profit margin? You're still going to have higher expenditures then. This is how I felt it's the easiest to break it apart and explain it to people. And most of the people that I explain it to, they change their business. That doesn't mean you have 3 different bank accounts every time you get a check and you say, I want a third put in here, a third put in here, a third put in here. It's all about budgets. Now, do I go through every month and do I look at my expenditures? No, I don't. I don't care anymore because I know I'm bidding to cover those expenses. I don't have to sit down and look at an expenditure. When I see people, I look once a week. I don't care. I know my guys. I know what they're capable of. I haven't looked at my expenditures in years because I don't care. Because I know it takes this to run my business. I know this is what it costs my employees, and I know that's what I profit. How many people profit 33% or higher with employees.
Sometimes.
Rick will do something similar to this, but a whole different aspect of this later. He'll explain what he's done, and this will all come together and say, hey, that makes sense. I don't have extra equipment laying around. I don't need it. I don't have expenditures that I'm not going to use. If I don't have a crew, unfortunately, I probably always have like 2 extra trucks laying around, just in case something breaks down. But we have 9 trucks all the time that run the road. So if I have a truck that breaks down, I got a great mechanic who fixes stuff fast in a hurry, and then we throw another guy in a truck. I have an extra small pressure washer, hot pressure washer of IDM. We might take to a job if something breaks down, or we cancel and we hump it to get stuff done. But I don't ever look at like, hey guys, what are my expenses? I know my mortgage isn't going up on my building. I know, I might shop around for car insurance once a year, see if it gives me the best cost. Those are the type of things that go up. My cell phone bills don't go up. My chemical bills never go up because I have my chemicals into every single job we do on my 33%. So if you add all your expenses up, you split it in half, and you say, how much should I be charging an hour? Even if you're individual, and you guys are just, the guys who raise their hand just starting out. If you thought of this stuff, you thought, how can I be the most profitable I can be? If you want to make 40%, you're going to be more profitable. But if you're individual, you should be making 66 to 70% profit right now on your own. But don't forget about expenses. Don't forget, let's say I'm working out of my house. How much is your house rent? How much percentage of your house are you using for your office? You should be paying yourself, your business should be paying you back, because it's an expense. Number one, it's a write-off, which is great. And number two, it's an expense because now when you get ready to move out of your house and you move into building, you're kind of already covering a little bit of your rent. You're not just, oh great, I got to spend $500. I mean, I remember the first time I moved in my first office, it was $500, and I'm like, am I going to be able to afford that? Am I going to be able to afford $500 a month? I mean, that's just crazy. Where am I going to get that money from? But if you start expenditures, as you start out small, if you have a smaller pressure washer like Joe Schmo had, and he bought it for $300, and he starts there and he makes his way to the next one, I always say, if I can go buy something with 0% credit, 0% interest, I buy it. If it's something I need and I'm using somebody else's money, I buy it. I like to keep my money in my pocket. That way I know I have it for the long haul. So, any more questions? Yeah.
You mentioned workers' comp.
Yeah.
I'm actually in a situation now where I'm being a commercial job, but I don't have any employees, and they're asking if you have workers' compensation. So how do you handle that? Is it like a...
Well, for a lot of smaller companies, what I did for probably 15, 16 years, and I loved it. Unfortunately, we had that accident and I had to go elsewhere. There's an actual payroll company out there that covers your workman's comp per week. So, like our workman's comp was over $35,000 a year. And we paid all up front, January 1st. That's a big chunk of change to be paying out, but that's part of my business expense, so I know it. But when you're getting in, you're small and you're starting out, trying to think of the name of the company. I'll look it up if I can't remember. Come see me later. But there's a couple different options out there in the work comp industry that actually you fax in your payroll or your hours in every week. They charge you a percentage to do your payroll, and they also charge like I think mine was like 14% for my window cleaners and pressure washers. So every dollar I paid them cost me 14 cents. And they added it every week rather than giving. I never got audited. I never got an extra $5,000 bill at the end of the year because I had too much payroll. My company grew. I wasn't expecting it, and now that money's not there. But the way I do my business is the money's always there.
So, but what if you don't have any employees?
Then you're not applicable at that point, unless you're in a state that requires you to have unemployment or workman's comp as an owner.
Okay.
Or the people that are hiring you may require you to have workers' comp, even though you can exempt out.
Yeah, and you're an owner. Yeah.
Another option would be to if you get the job, you bring a bigger company that can handle the work for you in, and you partner up, and they'll have all the paperwork. That happens to me all the time. Guys up, Jersey, Delaware, they just don't have everything together. And we'll get the call, come in, and have all the search, everything they need, the umbrella liability. We spend just an hour insurance, we go up 10, 15 stories. We're at, just for general liability, 22 grand a year. But we can clean anything, and no matter what happens, but that could be an option, is to find, there might be, where you at it?
Houston.
If there's anyone in Houston or know someone in Houston, if it's a big job, you know, I slice checks back $2,000-3,000 just for a referral. So, you know, and then I've got a great partner, a couple of guys up in Jersey. We get along great, but it's been a good team effort.